Greetings, Crag fans, for another instalment of Isaac's Lakeland Astrophotography adventure. You last saw me trying and failing to make it from Ennerdale to Ewbarrow, the planned midway point in an unnecessarily gruelling 18-mile circular, and from where I had imagined would be the perfect spot for a shot of the Milky Way twinkling over moody Wastwater. Having gone up and down Blencathra the night before, and taking the scenic route back to the car for some silly reason, I was suitably spent by the time I reached Red Pike, not having enough gas to power on and bag what would have been my 5th Wainwright in a 24-hour period. Instead, I settled for a spot among the boulders, south of the summit of Red Pike, and was determined not to come away empty-handed, though the imaginary money shot of the Milky Way over Wastwater would have to wait for another day. Unfortunately, a slog-induced technical error regarding my camera would, I wouldn't say ruin, but certainly hamper the images gathered during the rest of the trip, despite a fruitful late-night encounter with the chair. What would I be able to salvage from that late summer night spent over 800 metres in the air? How would I fare for the second part of the gruelling 18-mile circular? Would I have enough in the tank for Bleat Arm the following day? All valid cues, the answers to which will unfold slowly over the course of this vlog. Keep it locked. Hello. Just read this, actually. I'm just leafing through the Western Fells while I wait for it to get truly dark. And looking up the fells that I did today. Scoat Fell was the one where, you know, there was just like, it looked like a grave or something with those bits sticking up. And I didn't really, well, I wasn't doing much talking because, I was knackered by that point. And I've just noticed Wainwright saying here, an exhausted walker on Scoat Fell is in bad trouble. Yeah, no shit. Because it's massive, he's saying. Scoat Fell is a rolling upland of modest height, predominantly grass-covered and of mainly easy gradients. But this is a fell that should not be underestimated. It is remote from shelter or habitation. In these 4 pages of maps there is one dwelling only. A fair march is needed even to get a foothold on the fell from any direction, and a long climb follows before the summit is reached. Yes, I know this firsthand. It's amazing it's something that can be written in the, 50s or 60s. Still holds true today, and I guess that's because those fells have existed since the dawn of time, really, itself, the very dawn of man. So of course it would be the same. What else does it say? Before setting out, study the map carefully, noting the many watercourses and ridges that leave the mile-long top and where they lead in relation to the nearest road. If it is necessary to cross any streams, do so near the... Anyway, so yeah, glad I got it done anyway, because it was long. It was so long, so very, very long. And this is just freaky. A name that arouses interest on the map of Stockdale Moor is Samson's Bratful, a concentration of stones dropped from the apron of a giant as he strode across the moor. So legend has it. But learned sources prefer the opinion that this is the site of a tumulus or barrow, brackets, a burial place, giving its measurements as 35 yards long and 12 yards wide, tapering to the west end. Well, I said that thing was like a grave, didn't I? But I thought that was like the actual cairn marker for the peak itself. So weird things are going on Scoat Fell. And it's nice for me to say this now and reflect on it, but it's just at the time I didn't really want to talk. I was so knackered. Fortunately, tomorrow, it's all downhill, baby. It's all downhill. So, yeah, done all the climbing. Going to bag... There will be a bit of climbing because I'm going to bag Scoat Fell. Because that's one that I kind of missed last time I was up in this area. So it's just a brief detour that's not on the circuit. Scoat Fell and then Steeple. And after those two, yeah, it's just heading down back down to sunny Ennerdale. Yay. Right, so you join me, bizarrely, sat on a kind of throne. A stone throne. That's the sun just going down behind me. And it's astro time. At the well, it's not quite astro yet, as you can see, it's not dark enough, but at the moment the camera is pointing right at those twinkly lights over there. Let me just, I won't be able to focus on it, but those twinkly lights are people descending and ascending. Oh, come on, there we go. Descending and ascending Scafell Pike. So I'm just taking a lot of pictures, and hopefully I'll be able to kind of stitch them together so it looks like there's just one chain of light coming all the way down from the top, which I think would be pretty sick. I tried to do that before. In fact, last autumn I was here with some mates and we hiked up Scafell Pike. We were camping down outside the Wasdale Head Inn in their campsite. That night, the forecast sort of came in that it was a clear sky, and I was like, okay, I need to seize this opportunity and go down to somewhere near Water and try and get some pictures of the Milky Way. So some things never changed. For some reason, it just wasn't working. There was like haze and it was too bright. I don't know what was going on with Water. But with this, with those lights in the distance, I saw those. I was like, well, I can do something with that. So I was kind of camped in some bushes, drinking Jura, while taking long exposure pictures of these twinkly lights coming down the pike. The camera tipped over multiple times. I'll run the finished product. I'll put it to some cool music, but I guess for copyright, I'll change it to something else. Or just, I'll run the video while I'm just talking right now. That's the beauty of editing, isn't it? You can do this sort of thing. So as you can see, it's a bit jerky, and that's because I had to stand the camera back up because it had collapsed on its tripod because it wasn't on very stable ground. And there are lights whizzing past from cars. It was all really messy. But actually, I really like the final effect. You know, it almost looks animated, I think. So this, you know, I thought I'd try again. I wasn't expecting to do this, but I've seen the lights again. It's a Saturday night, so where else would you rather be than climbing down or up towards England's highest mountain? I guess a lot of these people are doing the 3-peak challenge, so it requires doing it overnight often, so that's probably what they're doing now. And yeah, hopefully the finished result will just be one. I just want to make one image, which is like a bolt of bright light carving its way down from the top of the mountain. I think that would look pretty cool. Not sure how to do that, so I'll just have to look it up. Some kind of overlaying and choosing the right option. Multiply, burn, whatever. And then I captured the most incredible sunset going down behind Haycock earlier. It's one of those ones where it's just like a huge red blob, like a bright red blob. And you don't get those all the time. And it was so sick. And I wasn't even looking for it. I was down where my tent is, and then thought, you know what, before dinner, because I'm not quite hungry yet, I'm gonna try and see if I can get just the last little bit of sunlight, just mostly because it's, you know, it's sort of warm and it's pleasant to have the sun on your face. So I came up here and discovered this weird throne thing and took about 1,000,000 selfies on the throne. It was really hard to get to convey the throneness while at the same time taking a selfie and getting the sunset in the background. I failed on all counts, essentially. But there are some pretty slay pics anyway. And then the sun just became this fat red blob that was sinking. So yeah, really pleased that I saw that. As you can see now, because the iPhone camera is so good, there are some stars in the sky. If I just point it straight up, you can see a couple. So not long now, it's about 11:30, isn't it? 11:30 until true darkness. I mean, after that gigantic effort today, I should be asleep already, really, recuperating for the 4-hour hike back down tomorrow. But this was the mission. It was an astro mission. So once I've taken enough stills of that, of the procession, I might call it that, the procession, the Scafell procession, Lingmel procession, ascension procession. I'm not sure about that. We shall see. It's pretty sick to think I'm one of the most elevated individuals at this time in this area. I mean, there's all those guys over there, they're higher than me, and there's someone over on Great Gable. There's a few very distant lights over there. But hopefully, most of this will just be audio, and I'll be overlaying it on top of the footage of what I actually managed to achieve, if you can call it that. So the next step, I'll just do a couple more of these, I think. Because I think from when I started, those people have gone down now to the bottom. So that would technically be a clean sweep, wouldn't it? And there have been people coming up and down as well. So next step is to head back down and try and get a nice position and try and work out where the Milky Way is going to be, and then do that. Whoa, a bat just flew right in front of my face. God. Anyway, it's Milky Way attempt 2. It wasn't too bad, the first attempt, but there just wasn't much going on, and it wasn't truly dark. I feel like it's darker out here, so that's better. I'm just waiting for it to get astronomically dark, which is in a couple of hours. So speak to you then. See you then. Yes. Right, so here we are with the fruits of the chair sesh from that night. And yeah, I was kind of struggling, to be honest. Yeah, like focus-wise, it's really difficult in complete darkness. But so like you can see here, although I've used a torch to light it up, the tent isn't really in focus, and maybe it's focused for the stars behind, which don't look too bad actually, relatively sharp. But yeah, I was struggling. Not only that, but my camera was kind of behaving in a way I hadn't seen it before. It was taking ages to like process a picture to the point where I had to actually turn the camera off, what I thought to be mid-process, and then when I turned it back on again, it would actually have saved the picture. So I didn't know what was going on with that, to be honest. So I ended up doing a full reset of my camera, thinking that, I don't know, something had gone, it was malfunctioning, maybe with the cold. And I reset it, and it still kept doing the same thing. And then I had a look on top of the camera, and I saw that instead of it being on like the S for like single shot, it was actually on HDR, which means that it was taking an exposure underneath, like a lower exposure from my image that I'd measured, and an overexposed one, and then finding a kind of happy medium and saving that as a picture. And I guess it struggles to do that in low light. So then I flicked it back to S, and happy days. Also, I thought, but when I reset the camera, I'd really reset everything, including the file type that it saves as. So whereas normally I shoot everything in RAW, which gives you much better scope, in terms of editing your images, it reset to the default, which is just JPEG. And I only realised that after I'd got back from the trip that I'd done that. So that was really gutting, to be honest. I guess it's one of those things that you learn from, to check, double check and triple check. And it's also why this vlog has taken so long to come out, because I've just been grappling with actually trying to edit these. And I've learned a lot in the interim about how many exposures you really need, and if you want a decent foreground, you need to take at least 1 minute long or more, depends if there's any moonlight or any ambient light, but out here it's complete darkness, although not off in the distance, as you'll see in a minute. So I actually quite like these. I mean, they're terrible in terms of noise, but it's kind of what I was going for, having the distant Milky Way, and you've got Wastewater there, and the tent obviously is completely unusable, but I kind of like the vibe, the kind of really noisy, messy pictures. I quite like that. And in the Milky Way itself, look, you can see that there's these bits of different colour, which is pretty cool to capture from just a single exposure, which is what all these are. Yeah, so actually they're not looking too shabby. This foreground is nice. It's just look at all that noise in the sky, and that's why people take multiple images and stack them, because then you eliminate that noise. So we'll come back. Well, we'll get onto that later. This one, I have no clue what was going on there, but I really like it, just as a piece of abstract imagery. I think it looks pretty cool. I have no idea what it is, what it's of, but yeah, pretty cool. I was struggling for a subject. I was kind of like, well, yeah, there's just that, the kind of open sky with some mountains in the distance. The tent, as you can see, was kind of a focal point for a bit. And then I remembered the chair. Which, I just happened upon and thought it was some kind of fairly recent construction, maybe, something a couple of lads had done. But it's actually over 100 years old, as mentioned in the Wainwrights, which themselves are decades old now. So, it's a piece of true mountain furniture that I sort of magically stumbled upon and thought, well, this would be good to use somehow. And it's cool looking back at these and putting them in this order. You can kind of see how when you discover a subject or something and you really start getting into it, how you keep refining and refining and refining, and eventually getting something pretty decent, hopefully. So yeah, this, you could see that, okay, well, the chair is fine, but what if I'm in the chair? So then I started setting up the tripod and the timer to be able to get back and be in the picture. Another thing that's on my list would be like a remote shutter, where I don't have to worry about a timer, and obviously it's so much easier with another person, but it's quite hard to drag someone out to indulge your kind of ridiculous hobby that you have. So there are techniques that I've since learned, like you can put a light where you're going to be positioned and then focus on that light, all these things that I've since picked up in the interim, which I should have studied before embarking on this mission, to be honest. So you can see here, like, nothing's really in focus. I think here that the stars are getting there. Again, they're just single exposures, so I think I was just trying to get the pose right, mostly. You can see here there's a kind of shadow of me sitting down or getting up, so that one hasn't quite worked. Now, we're getting there, and as you can see, the Milky Way is now starting to creep into the composition. So I think when I look back at this, I was like, oh, hello, okay. let's see if we can make this work. So that's less in focus than the one before, so I don't really know what's going on there. So by now I'd realised, okay, pull back and try and get a greater sort of nightscape in, and with you really looking up at the stars, or you being me. But as you can see, you got it in the previous one, but there's this searing light pollution coming off, I think it's Sellafield actually, the sort of the nucleus site off the northwest coast near Seascale. And you've got the lights of Seascale and whatnot. I'm guessing it's that, I'm not entirely sure. And all of these lights along here, so actually it's not the greatest location for true, dark skies. It would be fine if I were at the valley floor, because the mountains are then blocking that. But when you're as high as I am, which is actually, it's fairly high up. Red Pike is one of the highest around of the Wasdale ones. So yeah, you're picking up a lot of light pollution, but composition-wise, I was quite happy with this. You're definitely getting there. Same again. So, and as you can see, the Milky Way is creeping more and more into shot now. You never know whether these things are satellites or meteorites, or meteors, shooting stars. There's this cool little cluster up here, not sure what that is. This is the one that I was most pleased with in terms of me, the foreground. The gleam of my head torch here is doing a good job of illuminating me and the chair itself. It's quite hard to work out that it is a chair, and not just a kind of pile of rocks that I was randomly sat on, but if you know, that kind of thing. And I could always return. I think I did take some pictures with just a light shining on the chair, which I forgot to include in this little folder, but it's not that interesting, and actually it just looked too weirdly artificially bright, so it's better that it's just illuminated from this light source. So looking really good now as a composition. So what I did was I had the sense at least to take about, I think 8 pictures, 8 to 10 of just focusing on the night sky, which it isn't really enough. I think you need more than that especially if you've not got a sky tracker, which I don't have, which is another thing that would be on my list of potential future purchases. So this is a stacked image, and you can just see that that's one, and look at all that noise. Stack them, much better. But there is still noise there, but it's much better. And some weird kind of lines here where it hasn't quite worked out the difference between the sky and the foreground. Yeah, it's very ambitious in terms of background and foreground, and you'll see in a bit I really struggled to blend all these elements together. So this is the edited version of this. So I've just kind of aligned it a bit better and pulled out a lot of the stars, and yeah, you can see, you don't notice it so much here. I mean, you can, because it's like dark here and then light there and then extremely light there. But when you pull up the overall exposure, it's kind of starting to wash out, or it completely washes out down here. But it's the best I could get, and I quite like how the mountains, you've even got some details in the mountains here. This is kind of a fuzzy dark mess, but then it was just about combining the two. Oh yeah, another step in the chain is to actually use this StarNet feature, using a command line and terminal, and it was all very complicated. It removes the stars from the night sky, so you can just edit, your galaxy or whatever it is that you're focused on. And it's also just really cool, isn't it? Like, eerie. There's still these here, but it's, as you can see, it's eliminated a lot of the foreground lights, like the town lights, so it just makes everything look really barren and eerie. I love the look of this anyway. But yeah, combine them all together, and this is what I've got. It's not as good as it could be if I had many more exposures of both the night sky and the foreground. And it took me you can see I've lost some of the blending. You see how my light here is really shining out, but I really struggled to blend those, because how can you kind of do a mask of all of these tiny little bits? I'm sure there's a way, but it's honestly taken me weeks to get something half decent, and that's by using, I think it was a pin light composite mode, just playing around with composite modes basically. And yeah, this is the one. So you don't get, there's a big bolt coming up there, you don't get that, but overall it still kind of retains it, although I've got a bit of a see-through head for some reason. But yeah, so, and this is called Seat at the Stars, which I'm quite happy with. So yeah, overall quite pleased. I think there's a few more. Yeah, just at the end of the sesh, I just pointed the camera up at the sky to see what was there, basically. And this is how it looked just in camera, just one image. Again, a JPEG. If it was a RAW, there'd be so much more to play with, but it was just one JPEG. But even so, that is it, with the exposure cranked right the way up. And it's like a magic trick, isn't it? Just revealing that from that is quite something. I don't know what that is. That's obviously some kind of nebula thing. Yeah, just amazing, And also I did it again, and I don't have the pre one, but this is post, so again it's some Milky Way dusty area, bit of galaxy. You can see all these streaks of all the space junk and satellites that we've got up in space now, orbiting Earth, which is a problem. And you'll see in lots of people's time lapses of the night sky, and especially the Comet Lemon recently, there's just so much junk, so much trash that people are having to Photoshop out. It's a real shame, and it's becoming a serious issue with astronomers. But to my delight, look at this down here. I've actually captured Andromeda very slightly. Yeah, I had no idea, but pretty cool that distant galaxy is just chilling there in the corner. So there we have it. That's the chair sesh. Let's see how I got on in the morning.
Oh, good morning. It's another night with 3 hours sleep. It's not enough. That's nice though. There was no wind at all when I was setting this up in 4 hours last night, and then same as last time when I slept on Great Gable, middle of the night, the wind starts. It hasn't really stopped since. I'm supposed to stay, well, I was thinking of staying a third night and go to Bleed Hard and doing some more astro stuff, but seems, to be honest, I need a full night's sleep. A third night on the spin of 4 hours, 3 hours. Not enough. Walloped by this flap. Yeah, so I shall complete the rest of this hike, go back to the car, and be on my merry way, I think. I'll be warm soon, hopefully. I might just stay in here and snack away until I can feel some sort of warmth from the sun before I get going. Yeah, I can't. It's too cold. I feel like I sound a bit coldy, so a bit Goldilocks. So yeah. For some reason this morning I've woken up with don't be so quick to walk away. Sometimes with me I wanna rock your body till the break of day. Not my go-to music, particularly in the morning. It's a funky jam. Maybe that's why. I need the funk to rouse me. Don't be so quick to walk away. Yes. Yesterday, what was it? Oh yeah. You can make me whole again. Is that Atomic Kitten? That was in my head for a good couple of hours. For some reason. I just got to channel that JT energy, I suppose. With the sun coming up. Let's see how it's doing. How you getting on, buddy? It's lovely to see it spilling underneath the tent flap here. Let me extend the periscope. Oh, yes. Oh, you're a bright one. You're a bright one. After days of lugging it around, I finally get set loose on the Pucker World Flavors Jamaican Jerk Chicken Parcel. 2 out of 3 chilies. I think that is what I need this morning to give me a bit of a boost. And the trusty double shot as well. 2, 3 for £3.50 at Tesco at the moment. Pretty darn good if you ask me. Sun is making good progress, as am I. I've folded up a lot of my bits, and it's just the tent now that needs to come down. Do I collapse the tent and enjoy a fully outdoor breakfast, or do I kind of jam in the awning here? It's a tricky one, and I don't have an answer for that. Do you? I might just stay in here because it's still a little bit chilly. It's nice. The wind has died down as the sun's come up. However that works. So yeah, I think I'll put the tent down and then I can just enjoy the breakfast properly. I'll do that. Okay, packed up. It is now time to rip this jerk chicken parcel, in its own words, a new one, which is good because I got it reduced a few days ago now, but I'm throwing 3 sheets to the wind and thinking, well, what's the worst that could happen? It'll be fine. It's not real meat anyway, is it? Now, this isn't a food review channel, so I'm merely going to be biting it and moving on. It's quite nice though. Quite nice. Not to quote E17, but I think I might stay another day. Yeah, I know. The sleeping or lack of sleep situation is very trying. However, the day comes around and you're just energized again, and you look out there and think, why am I in a rush to leave this place? And tonight at Bleetarn, this is like, with the Astro stuff so far, it's been a bit like Goldilocks, I think. You know, first night the conditions weren't right because it was misty and there was
some light pollution. Last night was actually quite good. Again, there was light pollution because I'm right on the top of a mountain. Yes, this is like a dark sky area, but on top of a mountain you can see all the way over to like Seascale, I think it's called out there. Not entirely sure, but anyway, there's several towns dotted along that are sort of glowing. But there was some really vivid Milky Way stuff going on, and sort of mucking about with that throne was quite fun for a 35-year-old man. So tonight it's going to be just right. I'm going to be like, again, another isolated area, but not on top of a mountain, so it should be darker. It's going to be chilled out. Today is all about chilling, apart from the 4-hour hike I'm about to go on now to finish off the loop. But at least the loop didn't fully extend to Ubarrow down there, but let's face it, it's not 100 miles away, so I have done pretty much the whole thing. Just Scoat Fell and Steeple. Birdies incoming. Yeah, just Scoat Fell and Steeple, walking back to the car. I was fantasizing about hitching a lift from someone, like riding a quad bike or something down the side of Ennerdale. That would be awesome. If there are any, if it is by a road, I might hitch because it's such a long lake. I need to preserve, well, I don't really need to preserve my muscles anymore because that's it. That's the end of the mega walking. Bleat Arn is pretty much next to the car park, so I brought a camping chair. I've got a couple of IPAs, hazy IPAs to enjoy. So I think I'm staying, is what I'm saying. How could you not? Why would you be in a rush to go back to suburban Nottingham when you're surrounded by this? Right, I'm going to finish off the double shot and a muesli bar and then get going. This is a golden hour sort of striptease of me removing my thermals. God, I look like the Slender Man. That's one leg. Oh, that's the other. Long johns off. And just like that, one horrifying erotic dance later, and we're off skis. It's about 7:30 now. Woke up at 6. And so it begins, the last of the large efforts of a walking kind. I'll get onto that later, but yeah, so what was I going to say? Can't remember. Surely I've got something to say. No, I guess that was it. Just here we go. I'm going to bob along Red Pike and then to Scoat Fell, Steeple and down to Ennerdale, which I've said countless times before, so yeah. There's a solitary tear rolling down my cheek. I don't know if you can see that. It must be sad to be leaving Wasdale and Wastwater because it's so blooming impressive. That's the mushroom dome of Great Gable straight ahead. That's so cool. And obviously Scafell and all that straight ahead. Yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say. My rucksack is so much lighter now. Mostly because my tent is bone dry. One good thing about that wind, I suppose, was that it fully dried out my tent, so that feels much lighter, how it should feel. And I've eaten and consumed a lot of the fluids as well, so that's good too. So it's going to be a nice one, and I'm relieved that I'm not going to have to do another big trek like that for a while. That was worth it in the end. It's always worth it in the end. Hence staying on. Don't quite feel like going yet, so I don't know when I'll next be back. So don't really see the point in cutting this short. Okay, following this path up and over Red Pike. Right now I've got it all to myself, and I'm approaching the spot where I came up from that horrible path, in inverted commas, that Kamut suggested, and then I peeked over this ridge to show you. So what I'm going to do now is head up to Scoat Fell, which I'm assuming is that thing there. Looks rather felly, wouldn't you agree? Yeah, I know there's been several Star Wars references, but the top of Great Gable is really giving Darth Vader's helmet. Particularly the way that it kind of expands outwards, but obviously that deviates from the original Vader design. So I'm right at the back of Wasdale Valley, and this is exactly the way I walked last Easter, but I'm going up there. When I did it, you do the Wasdale horseshoe, you go all the way along there, and Scoat Fell is actually off to the left, and I just couldn't be arsed, even though it was a Wainwright and the whole mission that trip was to bag as many as possible. I couldn't be bothered to deviate because it was so roasting and I was pretty knackered. But presently full of beans and down to bag. So Scoat Fell, hold on to your scotum because I'm coming for you. God, that looks so trippy. Can't really do that justice, I think. Look at that. So that must be Steeple. Heading, that's Copeland Forest and Ennerdale further down. And Scoat Fell up there. This is, apart from heading up to the top of Steeple, this bit here is the only significant ascension of the day. So I don't mind it. Get it out of the way early doors and then happy days. This is amazing to see it from this angle. In this light, you can see why it's called Steeple. And I'm just coming up to the official cairn. I believe I was reading in Wainwright's guide that normally people like to put them, you know, there. But technically the highest point of Scoat Fell is this bit here. So there it goes, Scoat Fell. Nice to do a proper bagging there because Blencathra doesn't have a cairn on the summit, it has like an ordnance survey ring. Alright, I do need to conserve. It's the age-old tale of conserving GoPro battery, so that's what I'm going to do. Just going to be keeping it bang, 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 that kind of thing. A minute later, the GoPro is out again, but it is really giving top of the world vibes up here. You can see right out there, that's the ocean. And down there is Steeple, where I be heading next in a strange stone circle. So right the way over, this is Ennerdale. Over there, that's Crag Fell. That was the first mountain I went up. So yesterday I was at the foot of Ennerdale Water, came up there, all the way along those moory bits, and then out of sight. I'm just going to keep twizzling anyway. Jesus! You can still see Great Gable. And the top of Steeple there. Am I going to go on the top of that? I hope so. Sorry, must just correct myself there. I caught myself saying pillar. I don't know if I mistakenly said pillar before, but of course that's Steeple. Pillar is over there somewhere. But yes, Steeple, of course, Steeple. I'm going to have to sort of edit that out really clumsily, I think. Just overdub Steeple. Okay. This is probably not ideal to be doing this with a fairly packed but light Sainsbury's bag for life in one hand and potentially a GoPro in the other. I kind of thought it was just going to be meandering, but Steeple seems to be a bit of a climb at the top. But that's okay. I can, worst comes to worst, I can sort of connect this bag for life to the bottom of my rucksack like I do with a sleeping bag. I think it'll be alright though. Well, I'm assuming that's it. It's obviously much more impressive looking from over there, say, than actually standing on top of it. There's the old incongruous bag for life. Actually, but it's got the name Sylvia on it, I clocked yesterday in several places. So Sylvia was very keen not to be separated from her bag. Well, I apologise, Sylvia. I don't know how it's come into contact with me or my family, but I will look after it. It's done me well. And off I go. Now, literally all downhill from here, all the way to the bottom of Ennerdale, way off in the distance over there. 3.5 hours later, probably. So I better get a scoot on, or a scoat on, should I say? So I've read commentary and stuff that actually, you know, despite being a national park, that ecologically or environmentally, the Lake District is a bit of a graveyard, and these fells are just the headstones. I can kind of see what they mean. I don't entirely get it. I'm not an expert in the subject, but it's nice to see down there just lush forest, and hopefully there'll be more of that reintroduced to the Lake District. You know, with this kind of hobbling about with this bag, I feel like an old lady who's kind of got out super early to the shops to beat the crowds, except the crowds in my case are the sheep, and if we're to continue the analogy, the shops are the fells of Ennerdale Valley. So there you go. Wacky imagery, isn't it? It's like something from Monty Python. It's the return of Crag Grealish. Blah. Okay, this is pretty nice, to be fair. Now I'm finished with what seemed like a never-ending mound up there. It's opened up now and it's lovely and lush. The rewilding project is developing at breakneck speed. There's no better sound after you've spent the night on a mountain, particularly a hot morning after, than that trickling, because it means you can have a lovely face wash at the very least. If you had tablets and stuff, you could fill it with water. If it's like gushing out the side of a hill, I will drink it straight up. As you can see, this one not really, but it looks rife for a face splash, that's for sure. Just remember, this is a GoPro after all. Oh, so nice. Lush. So I wouldn't describe myself as close at all, but it feels significant that I'm now off that ridge at the top, come all the way down, and I shall be sort of edging that forest, hopefully going through it. 8 hours 45 into it, which means it's basically 2 hours left, which I'm hyped about. That will fly by because it's all plain sailing, it's all flatty labatty, which is very welcome, having been all the way up there. I think Steeple is that pointy one, the shark's fin, right in the middle there. So yeah, 2 hours. I've saved a bit of Lucozade. I've got a Satsuma, a fruit and nut bar, and a Gray's lemon and blueberry. As well as, I did think that water was kind of fast flowing enough to fill my bottle, so I'm fully restocked in the hydration department. So it's looking good, looking and feeling good, and it's going to feel even better once I submerge my body in buttermere. Not butter, I do not want to do that. But yeah, that is where the video will end, probably, and then I'll pick it up for another video to see what happens during the day today, and ending up at Bleat Tarn for a bit more astro shenanigans. What's your like time barometer? What I mean by that is like your measure, how you measure chunks, significant chunks of time. For me, 20 minutes has always been a Simpsons episode, but like Simpsons when it was on BBC Two, it was on for 20 minutes uninterrupted. Yeah, so that's my 20-minute kind of yardstick. 2 hours, I was just thinking then, that's feature length. Although a lot of sort of films on telly are around the 90-minute mark, aren't they? But 2 hours is certainly feature length, and it feels, I don't know exactly off the top of my head a film that's 2 hours long. I feel like Jurassic Park is longer than 90 minutes. So let's just say that. Obvs. Jurassic lad. Oh. So yeah, that sounds like a long time, doesn't it? Like, God, by the time it takes me to get to the car, I could have watched E.T., for example. But actually it does go pretty quickly, you know, especially on, it didn't yesterday because that route was just, that for the main meat of it was just so samey, walking over towards Scoat Fell, next to that wall just featureless. Everything looked the same. I wasn't having a very nice time, but this 2 hours is absolutely gonna rock it. There are birds twittering overhead, properly getting a nice view of the water now, and at some point I'm going to kind of pull up alongside it, so that might be where you see me next, unless any other ingenious thoughts come across my mind, which is unlikely, let's be honest. I don't know if the view over, you know, right from the top of the hill of Ennerdale Water is gonna improve, so I'm just taking this now. Oh, it might do actually. The path now takes a rather steep turn. Look at that view. Yeah, and I'm sort of hurtling full pelt downhill towards it, it feels. Right, need to sort of concentrate a little bit for this, but this is flipping gorge. Yes. Descended all down there, and definitely among the trees now. Absolutely gorgeous. I've just heard a person's voice, so I'm going to sort of talk over that just to give the impression that there's complete isolation. Although I've passed about 5 people, so obviously not. Coming through trees like this on your way down from a mountain, it's nice. It's nature's way of telling you that you're near the bottom, because for whatever reason you don't get big forests on the top of mountains. They inhabit the valleys where I guess it's moister, maybe less exposed, more chance of growing big and strong. So yeah, it's always nice. I remember coming down from Helvellyn and going through the woods there and being like, okay, not far now. But yes, it's lovely and nice for a change of scenery to be among big trees like this. Big trees in your area. Yeah, that one's humongous. Okay, as anticipated, I have reached the bottom. Look at all these felled logs, they're quite spectacular. My slapstick sensors are tingling, and I don't actually need to go this way, but they look pretty cool, don't they? Massive things. Massive. 4.3 apparently. Also read a sign saying that there are wild cattle and roaming wild pigs as well, so it'd be cool to encounter one of those. It probably won't. That's not the spirit. Who knows what we'll encounter? Sorry about my squeaking rucksack, but aren't these things spectacular? Massive. So massive. It looks so inviting, doesn't it, through that little glade with the branches just gently swaying. But must press on, but I sure want to enter that glade. Actually going across the bridge. Kamut, for some reason, was like, nah, allow the bridge, just handle it yourself. But it's not steppable, really. So I've done the sensible thing and thought for myself for once. Right, out of the forest, past these lush smelling ferns. They really smell gorge. And you might hear a bit of a breeze. That's because the only thing remaining is for me to walk the entire length of Ennerdale Water, but that should take me about an hour. That was gorgeous, dare I say it, meditative, going through the kind of pine woodland and the ferns and the gently chirping birds. That was really nice. That was a super calming tonic. Not that I've been it's not like I've been having a city break and it's all been really hectic, but there's just something about forests that are really calming for me. I don't know if they're like that for you. I think they're probably calming for everybody, unless you're Red Riding Hood or had some kind of traumatic incident in a forest. Most of you will be calmed by them, I'm sure. I'm sleep deprived, by the way, so ignore me. Lovely tree by the side of Ennerdale. I think my body has found its limit, which is about now. My feet hurt, that's the primary thing. My shoulders are aching due to the weight of the rucksack. My hands are feeling a bit shredded from the carrying the bag for life. I mean, I know I'm moaning. It is lovely, but I just wish I could kind of spawn some kind of flotation transportation device, like a hoverboard. Oh heck yeah, spawn a jet ski. I'll just rip it, tear Ennerdale Water to shreds on my jet ski, my imaginary jet ski, which is just me bobbing along incredibly slowly. Downwind actually, as you can hear, there is a bit of a breeze, and it's made for some sort of slight, I wouldn't exactly say choppy, but you know, there's movement out there for sure. Anyway, this is the power hour. Let's get it. The temptation to dip my feet in this cold lake is almost unbearably strong. But I'm holding off for the full body submerge in Buttermere because, you know, I don't want to refresh my soles only to have to stuff them back into yesterday's socks. So yeah, I'm staying strong, holding off for the big Buttermere dunk. Butterfest. Just a reflection on my sleeping pattern the last couple of nights. When I was at Boomtown, I was in a fresh and black tent, so I was getting 8 hours solid, no problem. Last 2 nights, it's the same pattern. I'd be going to sleep earlier if it weren't for the kind of astro nearly tumbled into the lake there. If it weren't for the astro thing, because I've got to stay up till 11:30 for pure darkness. But I go to bed around, in the tent around 12:30, 12:30, immediately go to sleep. My body just puts me down because I'm knackered from all the exertion. And then after the first sort of REM cycle or whatever, a couple of hours after, my body is obviously just like, what on earth are you doing here in this flappy, noisy thing? I wake up, I'm up for about an hour or so, and then the tiredness comes back on, and then I wake up to the sunrise, which not too shabby on balance, but yeah, just thought I'd share that with you. My God, those deep splooshes are calling me. But I'm staying strong. Really not far to go now. I think it is literally a mile. The end of the lake is looking closer anyway, which is promising. Just taking the last breather here. I think it's about half an hour till the car park again at the foot of the lake. And yeah, I just had a thought about the about Butterfest, about the dunk in Buttermere. I'm pretty sure I remember from looking it up on the map that I drive past a massive lake before getting to Buttermere. So I think it makes more sense to just find a place to pull up there alongside that big lake. I don't know what it's called, but just find a spot, have a dunk, then I can get changed and then go into Buttermere and pay for the car park and have a mosey, have a chill one, walk down to Buttermere Lake itself and and take some pictures and just soak it up and not always be on the move. Today's, apart from this morning, today's all about chilling, and that'll be the next vid if I've got enough SD card space. How much have I got? 11 minutes on this one, and I've got about 20 minutes on the other, so I might have to shift some footage around if that's possible, but quite difficult with these conditions. I've also got 29% on the battery of this one. I can charge it, but my phone's also low, and I don't know how much charge I've got left in that battery pack. It's not a nightmare, but the third video might be a slightly truncated affair, or I film it more with my actual camera and make a kind of a film, un cine, rather. Is that even a word in a language at all? Yeah. There's a beautiful butterfly over here. It'll be a nice way to close out this shot, if I can get close. Hello, fluttery bye-bye. Having a good old drink, are you? Yes. Okay. See you back at the car. Guys, the end is in sight. End of the lake, that is. Oh boy, that has been quite the trek, going through my favourite Jurassic ferns at the moment. But oh, it just kept going and going and going and going. But I can see the white farmhouse that I went to the right of at the very start of this trek, so happy to see that. It's only going to be like 15-20 minutes from here. An episode of The Simpsons, which would fly by. I really don't think I've ever been so pleased to see this polo. 18 miles all in, plus some extra up and down, fiddling about up there. Done! Now I'm going to get straight in the water. And by water I mean the nearest source. There's loads of people, like, there's dogs in it, there's people floating around, paddle boards, all that sort of thing, so it's going to be fine for a quick dunk, and it's right there. Makes the most sense, doesn't it? So that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, until the next vid, take care, bye bye.